Hey guys, sorry we weren't able to meet at the normal time today. I was still at school at this time trying to get packets ready for you guys. This time they have your name on it. Make sure you're getting the correct one because it's different depending upon 8th grade math, math 1, English 1, and English. They will be ready anytime for pickup behind the cafeteria. Just like before, after 4 p.m. tomorrow, you can pick them up anytime. I'm going to do just like we talked about. I'm going to go through post-test 4 questions, and I'm going to go through day 6 key linear features, and that is specifically from the packet that's online, and that will also be available for pickup. So going over direct variation, this was a question that I took specifically from your Connexus post-test 4, and it tells you that y varies directly with x, and it asks you for the equation. So first off, direct variation is y equals kx. X and y are your ordered pair, and then k is your constant of variation, which we know is the same thing as slope. The main thing to remember as far as direct variation goes is that your y-intercept has to be 0. If your y-intercept is not 0, then it is not direct variation. So we would just go about this like normal, changing y over changing x. So 4 minus 0 is 4. 1 minus 0 is 1. So this slope is 4. So I would have y equals 4x. That would be my equation because your y-intercept is 0. The next one, it says, what is the charge for 2.7 miles? And it also gives you like the equation where m is the mileage. So you would have to pay for this initially no matter what. And then on top of your original cost, you would also have to pay 40 cents per mile. So all you're going to want to do is you're going to want to plug in or substitute the 2.5 or 2.7, I'm sorry, 2.7 in as your m value. And then you just follow, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, you would multiply first and then add your $1.75. And when you do that, you get $2.83. Okay, so we're just substituting in the 2.7 for our miles. The next one is very similar, except it's not a word problem. It just gives you a function. And remember, f of x is the same thing as y equals. So it's saying y equals negative x squared plus 1, and it wants you to plug in x is negative 3. The main thing that I've seen students do wrong is not put this in parentheses. That is so important when you're substituting. So you would do negative, and then we would plug in our negative 3 squared plus 1. So you're going to want to do negative 3 squared first. That's 9. Negative 9 plus 1 would give you a negative 8. So that would be your answer. The next one asks you about common difference for an arithmetic sequence. Arithmetic sequences happen when you are adding or subtracting to get from one number in your sequence to the next. So like I automatically notice, hey, I'm adding 4 each time. That's a positive. So the difference for this arithmetic sequence is just a positive 4. If you were going down, like instead if it was 21, 17, 13, 9, then your difference would be a negative. But since we're going up and we're adding, it would be a positive 4 for your difference. I'm going to go ahead and flip my paper. And the next thing we're going to go over is very similar to substituting the value in as x, but there are some problems on the post 4 Connexus that give you more than one x value. So if it says find the range, so it's saying find the y values when your x's are these values, that literally just means that you have to plug it in that number of times. So remember to make sure when you're substituting, you plug in the value in parentheses. So you would do negative 2, and then I'm going to multiply negative 2 minus 5. So all I did was plug in this. Since it's the domain, that's my x value, and I plugged it in as my x value. Then you again, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, that's 4. 4 minus 5 is -1. So that would be the first answer in your range. So you're going to make your symbol, and then you just keep going. So we would do -2, and then the next number for our domain is -1, and then we're subtracting 5 still. So you multiply, that's 2. 2 minus 5 is -3. And then I'm going to put that in the part that would be for my range. Because I need, since I'm entering in 4 values for X, I need to get 4 values of Y back out. And then you would do your -2 times 1 minus 5. So that's -2. -2 minus 5 is -7. So that would be the third number in your range. And then last but not least, you would do -2 times 2 minus 5. That's going to give you -4 when you multiply. -4 minus 5 gives you -9. So that would be your range for the given function. The next one says, find the constant of variation. So again, it's very critical that you get it in y equals kx form, and everything is isolated except you have a -1 on the outside. So you would just need to divide everything by -1. So y would equal -4x, and then your constant of variation is just your slope. So that would be a -4. And then last but not least, it says find the first, fourth, and 10th term. And it gives you this arithmetic sequence, and that is the formula. So this is your initial term plus the term you want minus 1. And then this right here is your difference. So I'll say that again. This is your first term. This is the formula that's going to allow you to plug in, like if you want the fourth term, you would plug in 4 here. And then this right here represents the difference. So in my sequence, I know I'm starting with 1, and what I'm doing is I'm subtracting 5.7 every time since it's an arithmetic sequence. And I'll just show you what I'm talking about. Like if we plug in 1, if you want the first term in the sequence, you would plug in 1 as your n. So you would do 1 plus, well, 1 minus 1 is going to give me 0. And then you would, following, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, you would do your multiplication first. Well, that's going to cancel out and become 0. And 0 plus 1 is 1. So the first term in your sequence is 1. And then you would do the same thing if you want the fourth term. So you would do 1 plus 4 minus 1 is going to make that parenthesis have a 3. And then you're going to be multiplying it times -5.7. And I would multiply these first. And then I would add 1 back to it. And you should get -16.1. And that is the fourth term in the sequence. So if you start with the number 1, and then you get the second term, third term, the fourth term, after you consecutively subtract 5.7, you should get -16.1. And then when you plug in 10, so this one was -16.1 as your fourth term. So 1 plus, if I do 10 minus 1, that's really going to be 9. And then I'm still using that same difference that I found. You would multiply these and then add 1 back, and I got -50.3. So -50.3 would be the 10th term. So Friday, that's tomorrow's work. Just make sure that you finish post 1 and 4 on Connexus, and make sure you finish the Delta Math. Look at those videos if you need to. I am going to do a Google Meet Tuesday at 2:30. Don't forget that packet pickup is Friday at 4, and then anytime after. If you were struggling with day 6 key linear features, then stay tuned. I'm going to post another video.